Otakuology Podcast with Otaku Mike and Jin Graves.
God damn, the fucking Americans. Always the fucking bad guys in the animes, aren't they?
Especially this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of cool, though. I would have to say that.
Are we recording?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay. Hey, guys. What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Otakuology Podcast. I'm Otaku Mike, and with me, as always, is Jin Graves.
Woot woot.
Today, we are looking at an anime that is supposedly a classic that is from the 90s.
Is this a classic?
According to IMDb, the movie is a classic. And this is based on the movie, which is based on the manga. We're talking about Spriggan.
Should we have seen the movie first?
I don't know. I kind of want to watch the movie.
Okay.
But I don't think we needed to watch the movie to know what this was.
Okay, because there were some places in this I was lost.
I'm gonna be right there with you. I was lost as well at some points. But yeah, so this was released in the 90s. The manga was 80s/90s. To be exact, the genre is action, sci-fi, thriller. And this in particular, so we had the film. And the film was, it was released on Blu-ray in 2007. What? Okay, so this came over here in 2001. The movie did, the Spriggan movie.
Oh man, what month? 2001.
What month? 2001. Yeah. October 12th, 2001. It was originally released in.
Oh man, that's a low blow. That's a low blow.
Why?
Because that would have been after September 2001. Right? Low blow, right?
Oh.
All those damn Americans.
Okay, so with this anime, I gotta tell you, I looked some stuff up about it. So This is an original net animation.
What does that mean?
This is an online anime, like you would go online to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like I could have watched it on YouTube.
Basically, kind of, yeah. This came out in... Kind of like a webtoon, yeah. It came out in... When did it came out? It came out in... Was it 2019? And it was delayed over here until... No, it was originally released in 2021, but it got pushed back to 2022. The original animation was March 2019 is when it came out. And it was done by David Productions. Do you know who David Productions is?
No.
They're an animation studio.
Do they do a bunch of the old ones? Considered old ones?
No, they did. Fire Force is one of their top ones. Fire Force second season. Mm-hmm. They did Cells at Work, Strike Witches Road to Berlin is one of their works. Monster Rancher, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is one of them. They did Bento, if you remember Bento. But yeah, this certainly was an anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. Like, going into it, I thought this was going to be good. I thought this was going to be a good movie or good anime. Because I was like, oh, cool. We're getting a new adaptation of this old thing. How can this go wrong?
Right.
But do you want to kind of
We're getting this old thing. How can it go wrong?
How can it go wrong? We're getting this old adaptation of a new thing,
Just because it's old, nothing can go wrong with that.
I mean, this is supposedly a good anime.
Right.
I have never seen the original Spriggan. I've heard of it,
Yeah.
and I would always see it when I would go to like used like media stores. Like it would be
Yeah.
always be in the used anime section. When I would see it, I'm curious if it's. I'm curious if it's um like worth anything now because it got like a little revitalization because of this anime.
Yeah.
That's curious to see. I know because we're getting the manga over here, and after watching this, I don't know if I want to pick up the manga.
Well, starting out, because I added this to my list before you brought it up
I was
to
like, yeah, let's
watch,
watch Spriggan.
and I was sitting there. I was like, oh, Spriggan. I was like thinking about it, like the mythical creature, the Spriggan, and
Yeah.
everything else. I was like, huh, I'm a little intrigued. I like mythology. I want to see what it is and what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. And then you were like, hey, let's watch it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I sat down to watch the first episode. And I went, something's off about this from the very beginning. And I
See,
was sitting there. And then I realized I had sat there and been watching it for over 30 minutes. And I was like, that's what's wrong with this right now.
it felt like each episode was like 40 to 48 minutes long.
Yeah.
Do you want to give like a quick synopsis on like what this is about?
Well, overall, it's about they have a different thing, but it's like they call it ARC, like the ARC. It's like ARC MC or something like that.
ARCAM.
That's what it is. Yeah,
the ARCAM Corporation.
And they're a corporation of
They're
just
like
individuals,
a military private army type of situation.
Yeah, that are based out of they're based out of Japan, and they're kind of, I guess, like it almost seems like mercenaries for hire, but this can sound really bad. They're kind of like Indiana Jones in a way. I feel like they're artifact hunters for things that came from the old war.
Yeah, because they're looking for artifacts from an ancient civilization which had like advanced technology that they're no longer around anymore, but somehow their technology and stuff was left, and they're trying to find it to try to I don't want to say like repurpose it, but like keep it out of like the wrong hands.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to like Warehouse 13 it, where they're trying to get it and then hide it away or something like that.
Yeah.
And we have a little motley crew of people that are in it, which that was one of the problems I feel like I had with this, is every episode did kind of go together, but I never felt like it was congruent enough.
It was very open-ended with the story of this, because there's no real like overarching story. It's just Aname, I believe his name is, which is the main Spriggan who we have in this, who's a 16-year-old high school student who gets wrapped up in this ARCAM like organization. We don't know how exactly he got there, but he's there, and each episode is him going on a different journey into finding a mission to find like a certain artifact or something, and they have to stop the what were they called, the triad, what were they called,
the Tritons,
which is basically aka America.
Oh yeah, right.
America.
And
each one he goes on to a different mission, and that it has a beginning, middle, and end for each episode, and then he goes off and does another one. I mean, it's kind of hard to cover this in an overarching sense, so we're kind of going to do our best to kind of cover each episode
Right.
in this anime.
Right.
You know,
And the equipment. Because I really did feel like everybody was basically that we saw was some kind of a science experiment.
weren't they all like science experiments, or was it like natural powers?
Some people, they said they had natural powers, but I think that almost everybody was some sort of science experiment.
Okay.
Um, Especially whenever like they start talking about how they got their powers.
Mm-hmm.
There was only really one person that I know that was saying that they didn't have it. They just got it through training.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically like they one punch manned it.
Okay.
They were like, I just trained really hard. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. No, it doesn't. But okay.
So do you want to start with the first episode?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Let me see. So, our first episode was called "The Flame Serpent,"
Mm-hmm.
and so we kind of had a guy that was like a wizard with the staff.
He had he looked like a wizard.
Yeah, and I guess this one was two artifacts that had to be brought together because there was an orb that basically controlled this big fiery magma serpent.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
they were trying to activate the magma serpent, or the fire serpent as they called it.
yeah, and he could only control it or anything and awaken it with the orb.
Yeah, because he needed the orb, and he needed it was like a called like a tablet of power or something. Like they had these little things with like Arabic or something on it. I think it was.
Yeah, or Hindu, or I don't know, some kind of old language.
Yeah, which was the language of the old civilization. And if you read it, like it could like activate the item, or it could help you find it. Maybe, I'm not for sure.
Give you a clue.
I was kind of really confused, honestly, on a lot of stuff in this anime, and I feel like I need to rewatch it, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention for half of it.
I don't know. I just felt like there was enough stuff with all of it that it wasn't exactly congruent enough.
Like with this one, so we meet you, who is the Spriggan agent. And he's supposed to help out this scientist whose name is Rin, and I don't remember what exactly Rin was doing. Do you remember what she was doing?
Yeah, Ray.
Ray.
I think she was just there to uncover it and see what the words were.
And she basically like gets kidnapped by Trident, and Trident you saves them and stuff, and they get in this big fight and whatnot. And that's what I actually like about this first episode, is like all the action. Like it was very like almost like non-stop action.
Yeah.
And I thought the action was very well done in this first episode. I was like, oh man, this is cool. Like, cause he's got like the cool, like, what was it, like the power suit or whatever it is on him, and he can use like
and that's one of the things that I was confused on too with that is, did he, or is the power suit what gives him his power? But then later on in another episode, we see him younger, where he's got his powers, basically.
I think it amplified his power.
And I was like, what is his power, though? Because he was kind of the only character I didn't really think we ever knew, like, dead set what his power was.
We didn't really even know his fucking backstory.
Right.
Or really anything about him.
Because, I mean, that's another thing that I dislike about this, is with him being our main hero person,
Mm-hmm.
and being one of these Spriggans and everything, we never really find out what his power is supposed to be, because then you start thinking, oh, well, this could be his power or whatever. And then I felt like every time I thought that, then somebody in the show would be like, oh, well, my mechanical suit does da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, so it's the suit doing it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna do this. Oh, well, it's my knife. Oh, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, damn it.
Like it did. The first episode did kind of explain a lot, but I felt like with this, because it's cool. It was cool to see him go up against like this guy, and he had this like magical sword thing that like conjured up this dragon and whatnot, and uh, there was the whole thing with you and Ray or Ren or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Um, they knew each other from childhood, and it was obvious that he was the person that she was looking for back in Japan. And I felt like this first episode was a lot of these episodes were they took an entire story arc and shrunk it down to 40 minutes of animation.
That's true.
And
that is true.
That's where I feel like this anime really falters, is the way they condensed the story but left it so open-ended. It left me with so many questions.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. And then we move on to episode 2, which I like episode 2 because they beat up the fire. They beat up the fire monster. Episode 2, they end up going to like the South Pole or something. Correct?
Yeah. They do that, and they're trying to find the Ark of the Covenant, or
they're looking for Noah's Ark.
Yeah, and it's like a big battleship.
Yeah, it's a big battleship that has all these like dinosaurs and like almost like alien creatures in it. But yeah. I like this one because we get a little more. We learn a little bit more about you a little bit in this. He gets his equipment, which he gets a knife and a grappling hook type of thing. And I liked the only two bad guys I remember is Fat Man and Little Boy, which are these weird, like almost like cyborg-esque people.
They are. They're part of the Machinist Guild.
Yeah. Which did they work for Trident?
Yes.
They did, okay.
Yeah, they hired the Machinist Guild to do that.
Okay.
We didn't know. We didn't know because both of them were hired out, I think, like third party. But the guy that was over them, the little boy, did bring up that he was Trident.
Who has rank in the military.
Oh, yeah, he's like a captain.
This little child has military rank, and just...
Let me throw this at you real quick. I felt like he was very near like from Death Note.
I can kind of see that, yeah.
Because then the other thing was sitting there, originally playing, he was sitting there playing like a PSP or a Switch or something before he got mad and broke it. And then we don't really see him, but if you look on the desk, there's a bunch of toys and stuff. And I was like, what?
But
in a rank of the military, and you got all this crap?
This is one thing I do like about this is we get another character that I actually liked was Jean, who was another Spriggan who comes.
Jean's power actually fucking made sense. Okay, you could tell it right off the bat.
Jean was fucking cool, and I wish Jean was in more of this show. Cause he's only in this one episode.
Yeah, that was the other bad part. I hated.
Which I thought he was gonna show up again, just like the girl from the first episode. I thought they were gonna be recurring characters because he's in the fucking opening of the show.
Right. Well, and that's the other letdown is all the extra little Spriggan characters you see in the opening only show up once
Except
in
for
one episode.
was it Yoshino, who shows up in episode 3 and in the last episode? I think her
Oh,
name was.
the little treasure hunter girl.
Yeah, she shows up in 2 episodes.
Yeah, but the worst part is she's not a Spriggan at all. She's just a
True.
psychic medium.
True. Which we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But I like the whole thing where they're looking for the Ark of the Covenant and what the Ark of the the Noah's Ark actually is. It's a big old battleship that like terraforms worlds. I think it was, or it can
It
terraform. I think it is.
Yeah, it destroys the world and can make it over.
Yeah, and we meet Jean, which is probably one of the coolest characters in Spriggan. Aside from, I mean, Yu's kind of cool. He does some pretty cool fights and stuff, but he's typical like sort of
Use
shonen
like
protagonist a little bit.
use like your hand to hand combat guy that every time he does anything, it's always going to kind of be the same, and he's got the protagonist armor.
Yeah,
Everybody else was either like, I felt like they were like forged in steel, where like they'd trained forever, or they were somebody that like just had this berserker power.
yeah. But Jean is supposed to be used backup on this mission, and Jean is a fucking, they call him a lycanthrope, but I was like, he's a fucking werewolf.
I didn't even think that. I thought he was like a giant fucking yeti.
I thought he was a werewolf, like a type of werewolf thing.
And that's what I was thinking originally too. But then when we actually see him fighting and whatnot, he doesn't actually look like a wolf. And I was like, okay, well we're in the snow.
Yeah.
Is he a Sasquatch or
This
so
episode was like brutally violent. I mean, all the episodes are kind of violent and like very like gore heavy.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Which I thought Jean probably had the best like hidden ability, because he's like an ace marksman kind of when we first see him, and from knowing you think, oh well, the gun's got to be his Spriggan power. He's got like a special eye thing, or whatever.
Maybe,
Almost every Spriggan is fast in some kind of a way.
Yeah.
So he's abnormally fast. One of the guys, the little boy mechanical guy, is like, oh my god, how are you keeping up with me? And then he ends up getting shot in the back, and we find out what his power is, that when he sees his own blood, he turns into this big hulking creature.
Yeah.
And so I think that was probably, I think he does have one of the coolest abilities.
He does have one of the coolest abilities, and he's only in this one fucking episode.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that was a letdown for me, gonna be honest about that. Just
yeah, that was another thing I felt like I really hated about this show too, is you'd kind of get invested in a character,
and they just never show up again.
Yeah, and they give you like, this almost a full episode, like a 40-minute time span to get invested in a character. And then you do it, and then it's like, hey, but you'll never see this character again.
Yeah.
It would be like watching a Marvel movie, and, at the end where they go, such and such will return, and then not ever seeing it, Well, obviously, they're never going to return.
Yeah.
Less movie for them,
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I think that was probably my biggest problem with this, was the one, you had no real returning characters other than you, and I guess the high school students that would show up occasionally.
Yeah, and then his kind of like handler guy,
I don't even remember what his name is.
The semi-balding general guy, or
and then like Yoshino, because Yoshino shows up in 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Which I have a whole thing about Yoshino. I mean, like, oh my god, I thought she was one of the most annoying characters, and I think I didn't think her voice actor was bad. Just the character herself was annoying. And
Yes.
I felt like, which we'll get to Yoshino, where Yu goes off on a thing where he has to go to like, it's like a cursed forest or something at one point, and uh,
Yeah, the
I,
Cursed Forest, and the other one was the Ghost Island.
yeah, and he goes to get this artifact, which I think it's like a Hindu artifact. He goes to get.
Uh, kind of. It's like a little praying couple that they got to put
Yeah,
together.
yeah, and Yoshino comes in, and Yoshino is like a middle schooler thief, and Yu
Yeah,
has run into her uh on several occasions because she's an artifact hunter who goes off and sells artifacts. Like she's very much like a foil to you, and she is probably one of the most annoying characters. For one, it's very shocking to see her because she seems so out of place in this anime.
yes,
Like just her character design, the way she looks, like I feel like she should be in another anime.
yes,
The way everything with her, I just feel like they took her out of a different anime and plopped her in here. Like, but I mean, this anime also feels like it got the Parasite treatment because it is an older anime. It got
yeah,
the updated to like, so now they have cell phones and stuff like that. But and maybe the story changed. I'm not for sure because I don't know the old story. But it was feels like it was updated for more modern audiences. And I feel like Yoshino was probably a part of that updating of probably an updated character design or something. Because half the time, cause she wears like this like sort of long zipped up jacket and like stockings. For the longest time, I thought she wasn't wearing any bottoms. Like, and I was like, oh wait, she is wearing shorts. They're just the color of her skin.
yes. It's she's wearing pants. They're just a shade darker than her skin. You know, who's gonna tell the difference of that?
I mean, like after the first two episodes, I started to lose interest. Actually, I started to lose interest on this episode, which is episode 3. And
I actually agree. Episode 3, because episode 2, I feel like you kind of get a heavy hitter with the little boy. You know,
uh-huh.
he's a telekinetic, and um,
Mm-hmm.
the cool thing is with him when he uses his power, his around his hair looks like it glitches,
Yeah.
and he ends up overusing it and basically, you know, shorting himself out, and then he
Mm-hmm.
decides that he's just going to kill himself off at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I
but
ask you something? Go
what?
ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, but yeah, then getting into episode 3, I feel like Yoshino kind of is the cause that makes you lose a bunch of things.
It made me lose more interest in it.
Yes.
Like I was like, oh, okay. Um, we're going with this. And there was another guy, and I don't remember what the other guy's name was, but I think he was a Spriggan
In
too.
3,
Yeah.
he worked for Triton, and he had a suit that somebody had kind of gotten the designs off of from Muse, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And but
They ended up fighting.
his focused on muscular enhancement instead of speed enhancement.
They ended up fighting like zombie Triton or zombie ARCAM officers,
They were
soldiers.
Triton. They were Triton
They were
soldiers.
Triton. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ghost.
Yeah, this one was kind of. This is where I started to see the cracks in the anime. So I don't know if you saw it before, but did you notice when it would switch from like 2D animation to like 3D animation?
No, not really.
Not really. So they were
Yeah,
very good at hiding it before. There are scenes where it goes on to full like 3D, like the character models become 3D and stuff.
yeah,
And in this episode, because of that extra guy they put in, the Trident guy, his character model was so bad, like it took me out of
Yeah.
the anime itself, and I was like, okay, now I'm starting to see the flaws in this anime. Like, not just Yoshino, but like, I mean, she was animated fairly well. I would have to say that. But like, I started to see like the animation quality kind of dipped a little after episode 3 to me. Because I thought like episode 1 and 2 were fairly high ish.
Well, what did you think on episode 4?
That's the one with the robot, right?
Yeah.
So I did not like episode 4. I mean, I thought the premise was kind of cool where the robot was hunting him towards the end.
Yeah.
And like he was at a big disadvantage. The robot model was so bad, it stood out like a sore thumb. Like
Yeah.
and it reminded me, I don't remember if you know this or not. There was a company called US Manga Corp, and they would release anime, and their like they had their logo would show up on the DVDs, and their mascot was like this weird mecha robot, and
Yeah.
it was like glossy like that robot was, and it was just poorly animated. It just reminded me of that. I started getting like really weird flashbacks of US Manga Corp.
Manga Corp PTSD, yo.
Of like just really badly animated, like if you use CG sparingly and they put money behind it, I feel like it works well in anime. There's some points in this where the CG looked really good and it would blend nicely. And then there were other times where it just looked very bad and very wonky.
Yeah.
In this.
Well, and I think besides like when the suit opened up to do like the blue and the black stuff on the inside or whatever. Besides that, the robot was really the only other CG that I noticed.
You didn't notice like the monsters in the very last episode?
In the last episode?
Yeah, where they go.
Yeah. No,
there were times where like the character models would turn into CG character models.
I never noticed that one.
You should go back and look because it is blatantly obvious.
I just know most of them, if it wasn't a human character or whatever, most of those being the CG models.
A lot of the human characters were CG models. A lot of them were.
You bastards.
Yeah. I could tell. Maybe I just watch more anime than you do. And I just I can tell it. It's as I can stick out like a sore thumb for me.
Yeah, that's true too.
I don't know. But I don't even remember episode 5 at all.
Okay, well, let's do this real quick. Right now, from episode 1, 2, 3, 4, what would you rank them? Not rank them, but what order would you put them in?
Episode 1 and 2 were the top of like good episodes.
Okay.
I would rank episode 4 above episode 3. Episode 3 would be the worst. I don't remember episode 5 because I fell asleep. Because I got bored. I fell asleep and I woke up and I was like, oh, episode 6 is on. I'll watch episode 6.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't remember what happened in episode 5. I don't.
So I would have to go with episode 2 being the best. Hands down. Because it was probably the best one of everyone. And
yeah, it was a good episode.
And you didn't have this random thing brought up about the artifact that it was. You knew what it was the whole time.
I feel like we could have taken episode 1 and 2 and blended them together and make like a longer movie.
Oh no, I would have hated it at that point.
Or maybe taking them and split them into 2 and have like 2 longer like.
But really, really, the other sad thing is anything after 1 and 2, it could have been mixed up. I mean, you could take 3, 4, 5, and 6 and just
Yeah.
randomly shuffle them up, cut the ending scene, the ending credits off of
Like,
episode 6 and stuck it
there
on the back
was
of
a
any other
whole
one.
subplot in episode 4 about you getting home in time to see a girl off. It was her last day of school, and they had to compete in like a track and field type of event.
Yes.
And she really wanted him to be there. This was a whole subplot. But beforehand, we find out that Yu doesn't go to school. He doesn't like going to school. And yet he has some weird connection and weird promise he made that he was going to be there to this girl.
Right.
Who I think we only see in this episode.
Yeah, we see her like a total of 10 minutes.
And
less than that.
He makes a promise to like, oh yeah, I'll be there so we can win the relay race.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, can we just take the school element out?
Yeah.
Like, this is making this even worse.
Well, and I feel like the school element was the only way we even got character development for you. Because other than that, it just would feel like we were sitting there doing stuff repeatedly back to back to back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
This anime had so much potential.
Yeah.
Because I know it's different from the movie, and I don't know how different it is from the manga. I'm kind of iffy on buying the manga now, because the manga comes out in a couple months. I mean,
you'd be like, there's no story in this.
I feel like this had so much wasted potential, and it could have been a really hit anime.
Yeah.
Like, it's just disappointing. And I feel like Netflix spent a shit ton of money on this, and they're hyping it up. So it says Netflix original anime on it, and
yeah.
Well, I mean,
and here's one of the other bad things though, too. If you look at you when he's going out to fight and he's in his armor and everything versus you at school, they look like totally different characters sometimes.
They do.
Besides having their black hair, like they don't always look like the same character.
Yeah. It was funny though. Every time he had his armor on, I was like, is that the Major from Ghost in the Shell?
He's stupid. Yeah, let's see. So episode 5 was the Crystal Skull. And like I said about Indiana Jones earlier, this is our Indiana Jones episode. Because every time they brought up the Crystal Skull, I was like,
oh, it's Indiana. I remember that about it is the Crystal Skull.
I was like, oh well, I'm waiting for Shia LaBeouf to come out of nowhere and be like,
he's gonna start swinging on vines with the monkeys.
Exactly. We gotta get this Crystal Skull back. And then you said you didn't see it though, the ending
it's episode 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
So this is where we get, I think, our second coolest person, which actually turns out to be Yu's teacher. And
see the guy with the squinty eyes?
He's the long-haired guy.
Okay.
And he knows some kind of like form of like kung fu or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And has developed his body so much that he is super speedy, can do the doppelganger thing, and something else, which I'll bring that back up for episode 6 because there's something different I want to talk about with the doppelganger thing.
Okay.
But he's fighting another American guy. I mean, you can tell that's how he's supposed to be built.
Because he's evil.
Yeah, and he's got he takes some kind of medicine or whatever to make him faster. And his ultimate attack is a doppelganger attack. And we have Yu's master basically sit there and go, oh, well, yeah, you're fast, you have good potential, but it really didn't mean anything. So let Trashy talk each other a little bit, and then Use Master creates like twice as many of himself as the other guy could, and he's
Yeah.
like, he's not trading this. How did he do that? So we do get some stuff out of Use Teacher that's really cool. I think because he didn't transform or anything, I think he's probably the next coolest Spriggan guy after what Jan? Well,
You,
no, the
Sean,
the blonde haired guy,
John.
Jean. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he was probably the next coolest guy after that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you would get this whole thing where the enemy of this one's not exactly Triton per se. I mean, Triton is working with him, but in this one, it's kind of them being like a secondary person because the main guy in this one is like an old Nazi.
Yeah.
And so,
So yeah, I don't even know if I got the Nazi.
yeah, they're sitting in an amphitheater and bringing back the air when everything was good and everybody knew everything or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, we're gonna bring back the best regime ever, the Nazi regime, and you're like, what? And it's really funny because he got some other like big businesses to come in and actually start trying to fund
Yeah.
his project, and then he brings up the whole thing about him being a Nazi after you gets in there and is getting ready to fight him.
Uh-huh.
And the guy, all the guys that are there for that stuff are like, he's a Nazi. What?
Like you couldn't tell he was a Nazi?
Exactly. Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, we got the skull that shoots out like lightning powers or whatever. And there's a doctor girl person that's in it, that she's connected to this artifact because of her dad being some kind of like an archaeologist,
Mm-hmm.
and was actually the big scientist guy or one of the big scientist guys that you actually knew supposedly. I
Yeah.
don't think we saw him in any previous episodes.
No, I don't think so.
Um, but at the end of it, we actually see where um, she goes to work as a teacher at U school.
Yeah, she does. I did see that part
And
because he was like sleeping, right?
yeah, and then he
Yeah.
he does bring up that basically Arkham actually owns that school.
Yeah.
All their funding and stuff go through there. That's why he's able to go do stuff and not suffer any repercussions of losing stuff from school, but he still
Which
has to
is
have a tutor.
weird because they make that such a big thing. Like the class president, like just fucking rips into him all the time he's there.
Yes.
Like they're like surprised he's there, and he's like, "Oh, he's gonna get held back." There's one part where I thought was really funny, and
Yeah.
where he goes and like jumps out a window at school and rides off on his. I think it's in the first episode, and there's just
Rides off on the motorcycle. Yeah.
yeah, and
When he
there's
falls
just
out
the
the
guy in
window.
the yeah, there's the guy in the background. He's like, "Well, he's not gonna graduate this year," or something like
Oh,
that. Like,
is that the one that's off the trailer where the guy throws the chalk at him?
I think so, maybe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the beginning of episode 2.
is it okay? Yeah, that part was funny.
Um, but yeah, well, the other funny thing is this crystal skull thing. He's like, the skull's in good hands, and then looks like a fucking keychain hanging off of his backpack,
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
and I was like, what kind of BS is that? Like, I thought that episode was pretty good up to that point, and then I was like, 40 minutes of watching this, and the last 5 ruin it for me because, oh, hey, buddy, This makes a really cool keychain.
I think they kind of punched up the humor in this.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the original material is like supposed to be like that humorous.
Yeah.
I think they like punched up the comedy in this and like tried to do funny stuff, which the comedy doesn't always land in this. I will say that.
This has comedy in it.
I mean, a little sprinkles of it, like you'll see like little anime things in it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then episode 6, uh I thought it was kind of cool. I liked the whole thing where they had the captain guy. The only thing is I felt like you said with what's her face being in the wrong show because he looked like a biker.
He looked like if Santa Claus was a biker.
Yeah, but he was a
And
ship captain.
he was also captain of a ship. And they end up going to this mystery island, which was like a manufactured island. And there were missing things there from like World War II. From
A bunch of different stuff. There's stuff from
yeah.
World War II. There was a ship from like the 1890s. That was an old wooden one. And they kind of bring it up to you because the island is supposed to be like
This will feel like the Bermuda Triangle.
it's supposed to be a raft, basically
Okay.
like a safety raft.
Uh-huh.
And you're supposed to be able to get on it, and whenever you need to activate it, and it will disappear and go into a different dimension. Um,
Uh-huh.
that was something I thought was kind of stupid wrapping our brains around. I really think more so that it was
So I think by this time I was just done with this series and I didn't even pick
yeah.
up on that part.
Yeah. Well, I think it would have made more sense if it just jumped through time, kind of, sort of,
Uh-huh.
not into different dimensions,
Yeah.
which could be what they wanted originally, because that's how it looked like it was made.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had that ship from World War II, and it was like all rusted and everything else. Well, then we also had that ship from the 1980s, and it had just looked like the boat had aged a few months. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, of course, we had things where it was the Ghost Island, so of course it popped in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew that there were different records of it, so it just didn't make sense for them to be like, "Oh, it jumps dimensions."
Yeah, I still don't know what the Ghost Island was really about. Like,
Yeah, it was
uh,
just a safety raft. It was supposed to be an evacuation thing. Like you could get on there, and then you'd have all your resources and everything still, and then it could like jump to the future or the past, or like they said, dimensions, and you wouldn't have to worry about people being able to come after you.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was far stretching. And then we also want to use other instructor guys, which is this bald headed American guy that uses knives, and he supposedly has the best doppelganger thing out there.
I, I have to say, the look on his face, which was like squinty eyes,
Yeah.
he was like the most least intimidating bad guy in this.
No, you know who you reminded me of?
Who?
The priest from Full Metal Alchemist.
Exactly. But not
That
as intimidating.
yeah. Um, and I felt like even though he's supposed to be a bad guy, he was still sitting there like trying to train you as well. Like even though everything was going on, and it just didn't ever seem like it added up the right way.
I don't think it added up at all.
Because it was like, "Oh, I'm going to kill you," and then he would stop, and it was almost like he had like dementia or something. Because he'd be
Like
like, "I'm going to kill you." "Oh no, I'm not." "Oh, I'm going
I
to kill you." "Oh, I'm
I
not."
thought the last fight between them was fairly well done. It was for the most part well animated.
Yeah.
Because it was very much like hand-to-hand knife combat, which is cool. You don't normally see that kind of thing,
Right.
But like, I just thought this episode kind of sucked.
Well, and then going back off of episode 5, we had 2 other guys that supposedly did the doppelganger thing.
Yeah.
And okay, well, this guy can do 2. What
Mm-hmm.
makes his so superior to the American guy that can make 4 of himself, running around versus the teacher that can make 8 of himself? That's
Well,
the
he
number one
also
Spriggan.
said that his doppelganger was like more of like a hypnosis type of thing.
Yeah, that he channeled his presence into the doppelganger instead of whatever, so he could
Yeah.
sneak up on people.
Yeah.
His is more like assassin based, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. We had fucking Yoshino, and Yoshino shows up out of fucking nowhere.
Oh yeah, I hate her so
It
much.
just causes so many problems. Gets this special amulet that's a plate in it, a plate of power in it, and she sees like a vision and stuff, and because of her, like everything goes wrong in
That's true.
this episode.
That's true. And the worst part is, and this is one of the things I thought was funny with that, is that you told the captain already that around her, like, these artifacts automatically get destroyed.
Yeah, they get destroyed. He's
Because
like,
he listed off, like, if they were ever, like, decommissioned, if they were destroyed,
yeah,
if they were ever recovered, if they were damaged. Like, he lists off
yeah,
all this stuff.
and he's like, okay, you can come.
So I was like, why did we expect anything different
Yeah,
from her and her track record of all this?
yeah. I mean, she's just there for the money because she wants the money. Apparently, she's
Yeah.
fucking money hungry, and she's like in middle school, which
Right.
to me that doesn't add up. Like, why a middle schooler would be going around with guns on these
Exactly.
weird adventures trying to get relics to sell for money.
Exactly.
It just never made sense whatsoever.
Well, and the other thing that I'm confused about, because she wanted to get the stuff to sell
Yeah.
and whatnot, if her full track record is just horrible and bad on all of this, right?
Uh-huh.
Everything.
Yeah.
How does she buy some of the stuff that she needs? Like, how does
I
she
don't
buy
know.
the bullets for her machine gun and the little airplane thingy or fan thingy that she used to get on the boat,
Or more importantly, how can she communicate with the dead?
Oh, she's just a psychic.
Because that just comes out of nowhere.
Well, and that wasn't that far reaching. Like, I expected something like that.
I was like, oh, wait, what? She can communicate with the dead? Like, what the fuck?
Right. Well, and here's one other thing that I don't think either one of us really thought about. But if you is already on the ropes all the time for school, then how smart is she to get around it too and not get expelled from having that many days out?
In her episode, she pretends to be like a sickly girl.
Okay.
She pretended to have like something wrong with her or something. She said, I don't remember what it was.
Okay. I guess I didn't notice that.
At the end of that episode, Yu shows up to her school and she's like, what the hell? Like, I'm trying to be like a sickly, frail girl. Like, you're breaking my cover type of thing.
Yeah. I think that was that part was her when she was walking to school.
Yeah, she was walking to school or away from school. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Because you showed up on his motorcycle. Very 90s, just saying.
Right.
Very 90s.
Akira.
No, he didn't even have a cool Akira motorcycle. His
motorcycle
was just like a regular motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they ends up leaving the artifact on the island, destroying it forever because there's a nuclear bomb on it, and they explode a nuclear bomb on an island, and they happen to get away from the blast radius of a nuclear explosion.
Just in the nick of time.
Like, I was like, okay, like we're just throwing the kitchen sink at this now, aren't we?
Yes.
If you can survive a nuclear explosion, okay. I mean, we'll go there, you know?
Yeah, they outran it.
In a boat.
In a boat. I mean, it was a very speedy boat.
It was a very speedy boat, but yeah. Yeah. And then we set up for a sequel at the very end where this guy who's another Spriggan is now enrolled in U school and he's going to try to take out U because the colonel or the guy who trained U is technically still alive, I think. Maybe.
I don't think so.
It looked like him at the very end. You kind of saw him in shadow. It kind of looked like the Bowman.
I think that was the Triton guy.
Okay, maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was the Triton's head guy or whatever.
I have to say I am not in for another. I'm not doing another season of this.
I would just put it on in the background.
I am a hard out. I am a hard pass.
Probably the only reason I would want to see anything is so I could see like Jean or whatever the other guy's name is come back.
Yeah.
But as far as like, oh hey, let's do this other stuff, I'd probably say the same thing.
Yeah, I am a hard pass, and
so out of 1 to 5, what would you rate this? Or you know, our rating system, whichever one we're doing.
2.5.
Wow, that's generous.
It's a 2.5 because some of the animation was fight scenes were cool.
I'm gonna give this one a solid 2. It wasn't like fucking horrible.
It was,
but it was not. I mean, after seeing people hype it up before I even watched it,
I think I hyped it up.
There were a lot of people on Instagram and stuff that were hyping it up. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it's a good thing I'm adding this on my list because I'll get to experience it. And then you messaged me like after I had added it to my list. Oh, hey, let's cover this. And yeah,
like I watched it in the span of a week, and I can't retain enough of it in my brain to remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was that bad. Like, I don't remember. Like, huge chunks of this anime.
I just think as long as it was, that was one thing.
Yeah.
That really killed it. As well as
the story structure, too.
Yes.
The way the story was structured, I felt like hampered it quite a bit. Like, I would be interested in seeing the movie because that's just the movie itself, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, standalone thing, you know, and supposedly it's a little different than this is. But for me, this was so much wasted potential, and the animation at points you could just tell like something happened. The B team was on that time, or like poorly animated, you know, like
the B team was on at that time.
Like, yeah, the B team was on animating at this time or something, you know, because the animation shifts were just fucking jarring.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Now there are parts in it where the animation is really good, but there are other parts where it's just really fucking like it's very uneven of an anime.
Yes.
Which makes me worried because I want to watch Bastard now, and Bastard is an old series that's been revitalized.
Yeah, but I mean, I almost watched the episode of that last night because it actually looks like it has a lot better potential than this one does, honestly.
Yeah. Like, I'm looking forward to Bastard, like watching that.
Yeah,
which we will probably cover that in a couple weeks when we get our recording schedule.
If that one's bad, you're on hiatus of picking shows for like a year.
Okay.
You're gonna have to stop recommending old stuff.
I like the old stuff.
Old stuff recommended by Netflix.
Okay, fine. What if it's not recommended by Netflix?
Then you're still on probation for 6 months.
Okay. I'm fine.
But after that, we can watch Retro Crush. So
Yeah. Okay. Yay!
That's the space where all the good shit is. Okay.
I gotta get my Retro Crush fix.
Yeah, because this was I just have to say, anybody that really sat down and watched this and liked it and didn't like it for just the characters and wants to tell me that the storyline was good is a piece of trash. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Oh man, the story for this is so fucking great. You're trash. I can't accept it. Because it was so
This
bad.
is going in the trash right next to Demon Slayer. Just saying right now.
This is so bad. I don't know what else to say about it.
I don't. Yeah.
Because you said your rating was 2.5. Like I said, that's generous. I was
so let down. I was so disappointed.
Mine is probably somewhere between a 1.5 and a 2.
I'm so disappointed. Like, I feel like I failed. I feel like I failed Otakuology by picking this shitty show.
Yeah, you know what though? You'll have to, when you upload this to YouTube, maybe we'll see if it can become a Kakarimbo.
Nothing will beat Kakarimbo.
Kakarimbo is king. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, do we have any special announcements?
Do we?
Anything coming out the drain?
Are there supposed to be special announcements?
I didn't know if we had any or not.
I don't think we do.
So our special announcements is Jin Graves and Otaku Mike will return.
Oh. The next episode?
Yeah. I
was like, where are you going with this? I was like, I don't. Are you some kind of weird bit that you're trying to pull?
Definitely. But
like,
anyway,
I
guys,
don't remember any special announcements.
There could be. Who knows? But anyway, guys, thanks for listening to this show.
God, this episode was a hot mess.
We hope that you had as much fun with this episode. Oh shit, I'm reading from the wrong script. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you like this, I'm not going to beat you up over it. There are things about it that are good.
Yeah, there are things about it that are good.
But it just wasn't that great.
It doesn't outweigh the bad.
Yeah. So anyway, though, guys, thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next show. And as always, see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.